Hey everybody, the pepper patch has been popping off this week. So I'm about to pick all of these peppers that are ripe from my plants. And while doing so, I'm just gonna give you a tour of all my plants I'm growing this year. And we can see how many peppers I get on this big pepper haul day here in September in zone 7A. This orange tiger pepper plant is a pretty cool one I have this year, and I actually have another video that focuses on just it. So I'm not gonna cover it too much in this video. You can check my page for that video. Also, none of the peppers are really ripe right now. I'll let these turn a little more orange from the purple. So we're kind of gonna gloss over it in this video. And then along the same line, I have another video I'm currently filming on this large pepper plant here in the 18-gallon tub. I am picking it today though, so I'm gonna start out picking it, see how many I get. And once I do that, we're just gonna keep going down the line and filling up this tub, just kind of working through all these plants you see here. All right, we're off to a good start with 50 peppers off of that one plant. I'm not exactly sure what these are. They didn't come out what they were supposed to be. So leave a comment on what you think they are if you're a pepper expert. I'm thinking some sort of red habanero or something. They're hot, whatever they are. I've already gotten over 100 off this plant, and I think it could be a 200 pepper plant. So watch that video if you're interested in how I got it that big. But next up in the queue, we have a couple Scotch bonnet plants. This one I've picked recently, so it just has some green peppers, but this one has quite a few orange Scotch bonnets kind of all over it. It's a really pretty plant in that regard. They're just kind of decorating it, hanging down. I'm gonna start to pick them, and we'll see how many of them we get. But these things are good, and I cannot wait to make a hot sauce out of them. All right, I got 15 Scotch bonnets from that plant. This one, like I said, doesn't have any ripe yet, and I'm actually gonna skip over these next two. We'll come back to them because I have another Scotch bonnet plant right here, and it's got a few ripe. So that's 16, and this is 17. I like it when they get kind of a little tail on them. On the tip there, just the little tail is really cool. So that's 17, and I'll probably leave the rest of these on a little while longer just to ripen up a little more. But 17 Scotch bonnets, that's more than enough for a couple batches of sauce. These things are spicy and great flavor. Coming back a couple though, we have one of my favorite chilies. This is a Fatali, but it's not just any Fatali plant. This is actually a white Fatali, and we have our first couple peppers turning white. I got these seeds from White Hot Peppers LLC, which is fitting since they are white Fatalis. But these really are one of my favorite chili peppers, and I make a really good white hot sauce out of them. It's like my garlic white Fatali sauce that I hope to kind of be my flagship sauce once I can officially launch a legit sauce company. For now, my friends and family know what's up with that sauce. But I got 2 there. This will be 3, 4, 5 white Fatalis for now from this plant that have turned white. So not bad. And as you can see, it has quite a few more just hanging out on it. Really productive plant here, pretty tall. I don't always have these tucked up to this wall of tomatoes, if you will. Sometimes I do move them out into the yard. It's just important for me to be able to get in and out when I need to. So right now they're all tucked up against it. And this next plant is actually planted in that raised bed. So I did plant some peppers in that raised bed, and it was kind of like a 3-way combo of peppers and then onions and tomatoes. And that companion planting did really good for me this year. The onions have obviously been harvested, but when they were growing, the peppers and tomatoes were pretty small. And you will see these white bags on some of my plants too. I just do that when I want to save seeds from a certain plant, and I want to be sure that the seeds are from that plant and not cross-pollinated with any of my other plants. We'll see some of that coming up here. It's a little foreshadowing, but I'll put these on before the flower opens, and that way pepper flowers are a perfect flower, so I'm sure that the flower pollinated itself, and so that this hatch chili, if I save seeds from it, it will be seeds for that hatch chili. But these are the Big Jim hatch chilies, and this one has just been wildly productive for me. I'm getting several of these, probably several of these a week, honestly. And it's a strong plant to be holding all this up. Over here, it looks like that we might have some big enough to pick. If you can even see them, these grow up to 12 inches long, being the Big Jim hatch chilies. So I'm about to pick these two just because they look big enough, but the rest of these, man, they're all up in there. I will just let ride and get as big as they can. I did just notice I have this little jalapeno back in here that's been struggling for light, but looks like we have one kind of turning red, so I should probably get that, and a couple of green ones there too. So let me pick these two Big Jim hatches that are weighing down this branch. So just 2 of these today, but many, many more on the plant and many more to come. I've also gotten a ton of these off the plant so far this year, and they're delicious. They're kind of just the right amount of heat for some of your everyday stuff, but I'm gonna add those two to my box. At the end here, we got 2 more white Fatali plants. Both of them are pretty loaded down as well. This one does not have any ripe white Fatalis. It's important for me to grow a lot of those to work on that sauce I mentioned earlier. This white Fatali plant in the 5-gallon grow bag actually fell down. I need to stake him up, but does not seem to be bothering it too much. It's still loaded with peppers, so I can actually pick a couple of these more white Fatalis. I used about 8 per batch of sauce, so we've got almost enough for a batch here. And I'll get this guy staked up too, so that just so he can get more light and be up off the ground a little bit. But behind it, we have my bell pepper plant that has done really well this year. I don't think there are any bell peppers quite ready to harvest, but just as part of the tour, I figured I'd show you this plant. I've actually, despite being the pepper guy, never done this well with bell peppers or any of the anums really. I'm more of a hot pepper guy, but this bell pepper plant has done really good. And again, it's in the raised bed, kind of like the hatch chili. It's been kind of overtaken by some of these heirloom tomatoes are going psycho this year, and are kind of shading it out. So I think that's why it's kind of falling over and reaching for light, combined with the weight of the peppers. But the ones I have gotten this year have been really good. Moving down to the next raised bed and kind of the peppers in front of it, which has been a good setup for me this year just because the grow bags seem to work really well for the peppers. They're really easy to move around, and they're 5-gallon grow bags, which the peppers seem to grow plenty big in for me. And I've had some of these grow bags up to 2 years now, and they've really held up. I'll link them in the video description, and then I've got them each up on a paver. That helps with a couple things. It helps with the bag being able to drain. It also helps roots not grow through the bag in the ground. And probably my favorite thing it helps with is I'm able to come through and weed whack up against these pavers, and it doesn't hurt the bags. So a couple benefits there, and yeah, I'll link those in the bio or in the description just because they're helpful. And this one, saving seeds from it too, is a Bacatum variety. This is the Ahi Lemon Drop. It's a pepper I've been really excited to grow for a couple years now, and I finally got it this year. You can tell it's a Bacatum variety. They tend to branch out like crazy, and it's kind of sprawling all over the place. But I've got a couple lemon drops. That one's probably ripe enough to pick. Let's see what else. Here's one here, so I will pick this one. These things are fantastic. They're like just the right amount of heat for me. They're, I think, 15 to 30,000 Scoville, so they're decently hot, but you can still kind of eat them raw or put them on tacos or whatever, and they smell amazing when you cut them, and just if you take a whiff of them while they're raw. But anyway, got 2 of those. They're not fully ripe, but I'm sure they'll ripen up on the counter. And I got a couple other plants of those on the porch that are in hydroponics, actually, that I've been getting some good peppers from. So I might have to make a sauce with them, but I have just been enjoying eating them as is in the meantime. Next to it, we're getting into some of the meaner stuff here. So this little plant is a yellow T-Rex, super hot pepper plant. You can see just kind of how mean it looks. They have kind of some tails on some of them, like you'd see on a Carolina Reaper or anything like that. This is a super hot Chinen's variety. They're called yellow T-Rexes. They've been this color, kind of mottled green and yellow, for probably about a week now. So I think this is probably getting close to their final form. I'm gonna pick these. I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do with them just because they're so hot. If I did something, I'd probably just use 1 or 2, and I've got quite a few on here, so I'm about to pick them, and then maybe I can find something to do with them. So leave a comment what you would do with these things, if you will. They are wrinkly, and we got some other super hots next to them, but I'm gonna pick them first, and we'll see how many we get just to add to our box. That's 2, and I think we have several more here. All right, I got 10 of these mean looking things, and I just Googled it, and yellow T-Rex are 1.5 million Scoville. So just added about a cool 15 million Scoville to this box. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with them, but on to the next plants. All right, so this plant that's next up goes back to when I mentioned it's important to prevent cross-pollination if you want to save seeds and then be true to the parent plant. I saved seeds from a purple UFO pepper plant to make this plant, and I thought it was a purple UFO at first because the peppers have this purple hue to them. They do have quite a bit of green too, and the stems had some purple, but it's just growing a little different than the purple UFO does, and the peppers seem a lot longer than the purple UFOs do. I have a video of a purple UFO plant on my page if you want to check it out, what they're like. They're really cool peppers, but this one's definitely a little different. So I think what must have happened is the plant cross-pollinated, and I saved a seed from a pepper that was that came from a flower that was cross-pollinated with something I grew last year. But this plant has been very cool. It is huge. It's really tall. It's actually, I think, one of my tallest plants, and the peppers are really good. So I think it might have crossed with a Fatali or something like that. Here's what the peppers look like. They're ripening to this kind of long red look. Here's another one. And so what's cool is when you do cross-pollinate, whether intentional or by accident, and invent a new variety like this, basically, kind of want to isolate that then. So I'm gone heavy on the mesh bags on flowers, just because I really do want to isolate these seeds, because who knows, might be onto something, might have my own new really cool pepper variety here. I think part of the reason this one's gotten so big is I did have corn in the raised bed, and it's gone now just because I picked all the corn from it and cut the stalks down. But this is a cool one, and it's got these really cool red peppers. So I just picked 2, and I'm gonna start picking the rest, and we can see what we can do with it. All right, 8 peppers from my mystery half purple UFO, half who knows what invented pepper. Might throw those in with the 50 red ones we picked at first, and make a Louisiana style sauce, I think. But speaking of red peppers, these mean looking peppers right here are death spirals. So these things, kind of like those yellow T-Rexes, are just so wrinkly. They appear to scream, "Do not eat me." So these are actually like 1.6 million Scoville, 1.4 to 1.6, I think. So they are about as hot as our friend, the yellow T-Rex. And I'm about to pick it. So I got this 1, let's see, 2. Been a good plant though, pretty productive. Add those to the bag too. And then 3 here. Just mean looking though. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these, especially since I'm getting them the same time as the yellow T-Rex. I can only deal with so much extreme super hot pepper at once. I might just have to freeze them. This one, it looks like a bug got to, so whatever kind of caterpillar, or who knows what that is, must not have capsaicin receptors, because he would have felt that. Here's another one though, actually. So, and here's another one. So a couple more just mean looking super hots coming out of the pepper patch today. It's September, so it's really the time for that. And then next to it, we have something a little milder. This is a Tabasco pepper plant. It's a Capsicum frutescens variety. Everybody knows Tabasco, like the Tabasco sauce. This is the Tabasco pepper plant. And it's one of my favorites just because the peppers stand up, which is really cool. And most of these aren't ripe. I think we have one down here at the bottom. But it'll look cool once they all start to turn, just because these plants get really colorful, like all across, with all the different shades of yellow and green and orange and red. I've got a couple more, I'll skip ahead here, a couple more Tabasco plants that are actually in these Kratky buckets. So these have been grown in water outdoors. And it looks like this one has no ripe peppers, but this one has some. So you can kind of see that color gradient I'm talking about. These things do get really pretty just with the different orange, and eventually they get red. At the factory, they carry around like a red stick to make sure they're picking them when they're the right color red. It's got like a red pink color they're going for on the stick. But I like these. They're really easy to pick too. They stand up. This plant's kind of sideways, but you really just grab the pepper. If I can get it on video. You just grab the pepper and then you just kind of start to pull, and it just leaves the base of the pepper and it's already stemmed. So that's pretty cool. Probably pick, 10 or so of these and add them to something. They're right in that 15 to 30,000 range as well. Add them to our box. And last but certainly not least, we have the little pepper plant that could. This one was not so little last year. It's actually 3 years old now. And this is the one, if you saw my short that I thought died, and that was his main stem. And then it just came back out of nowhere from the ground. So 3-year-old pepper plant, but kind of restarted from scratch since that main stem did get froze out last winter. This is the Ahi Fantasy. And this is my first one, so it's a Bacatum variety, just like the Lemon Drop, which is Ahi Lemon Drop. So tastes very similar, same heat range, kind of the 15,000 range, which is really good for me. And I make a killer sauce out of this one. But I'm gonna add this one last pepper to our box here, and that's a good haul for one day in September. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed harvesting all these peppers with me, and subscribe if you haven't, just to keep tabs on them.